The year is 2005, and this is Google Maps. You might notice there's a couple things missing, like including but not limited to all of Africa, all of Asia, the rest of Europe besides Ireland and the UK, also Australia/Oceania, South America, and this isn't even all of North America. We're missing a ton of Central American nations. Bro, Google, really? Turning in incomplete homework like this? No, to be fair, back in 2005, this was pretty crazy. I was there 3,000 years ago, and I was like, this is the future. I know it's hard for a lot of Gen Z to wrap their head around this, but before maps on the internet, you used to have to just keep a map inside of your car. And then you just gotta pray that you could read that bad boy as well. For one, there's not just like this giant pin that says, you are here. You have no idea where the hell you are. You might even be looking at the wrong damn map. You're gonna have to find the chapter and page with your current county if you better know the county you're in. In 2005, Google Maps and Apple Maps were both just trying to catch up to MapQuest. That was launched in 1996. We obviously don't have to learn about this ancient technology anymore, but I was surprised to find out this is still technically around, believe it or not. You can, in fact, still MapQuest things. That's pretty cool. I'm assuming they don't have that like Google Street View thing going on though. So back in 2005, Google was just trying to provide a little bit of competition to this marketplace. I just wonder how detailed these roads actually were in each state, as well as places like Mexico and Cuba. I actually feel like they didn't really have Mexico. They're just included on the map. They had Canada, and then maybe, I don't even know if they really had many maps or roads of Ireland and the UK. Maybe they just threw him on here as well. I remember when you could ask for directions from LA to London, and Google would tell you turn by turn, driving directions to New York, then tell you to swim across the Atlantic Ocean to London. I do not remember that. People forget it, but it was quite impressive at the time, yes. Bro, can you even imagine how easy the game GeoGuessr would have been back in those days? You pretty much just picked the US every single time, and there was like a very good chance at least you're gonna get the country right. It's impressive how many people and continents emerged from the vast ocean in only 2 decades. You think there was a Google employee also called Christopher Columbus who had to do the reverse exploration of the rest of the world? I do want to be careful just kind of throwing around jokes. I mean, this is kind of incredible at the time. It didn't exist beforehand. So the geniuses that came up with it, the geniuses that made the design work, it's like, wow, we built everything off these concepts today. I'm gonna be honest, I might not even have a career in a world where we didn't finally digitize maps. Paper maps are just so boring and obviously way harder to read. I mean, now look at Google Maps here in the year 2025, 20 years later, it can literally turn into a damn globe. Not to mention there are way more roads included, individual roads, than ever before. And every year this stuff just gets better and better. The coverage, it gets expanded more and more. There's always new countries being added, I feel. It's just hard to imagine as many people on the internet would care about geography if it wasn't for the beautification of maps online. The beautification and the fact that it's just a whole lot easier to read. By the way, today I'm doing something I've literally never done before, and that is promoting the Patreon. Yes, I have a Patreon. I know I'm a little bit biased, but I always thought my Patreon was a pretty good deal. If you donate to the Bob Ross tier, that's the highest tier, you get your name in every single video for the entire month here on this channel, as well as my gaming channel, Drew. Those names come out in the outro of every single video. I do like 45 videos between my main channel and my gaming channel every single month, and you can make me say whatever name you want. I've always loved, for years now, the creativity out of the people's, Patreon names that they get me to say in these outros. That's actually one of the funnest things I get to do. I've been doing this since like 2016 or something crazy like that. There's been some hilarious names. Not only that, but if you become a member, this is the best way to reach out to me. There's people that always, send me messages in the DMs, and I always reply. So just check that link in the description down below to patreon.com if you'd like to join today. So migrant population has obviously changed a lot in the last 35 years. We're comparing the year 1990 to today, and most countries have at least doubled. Some have even tripled. Well, unless you're Iceland. Apparently, if you're Iceland, your migrant population has almost 10x'd. That's insane. Now, it's very important to know exactly what was going on in the world in the year 1990. We were finally coming to the season finale of the Cold War. Dun, 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 dun. So Germany had finally reunified the western side and the eastern side. We have the Warsaw Pact breaking down, all these communist countries breaking down. Eventually, we were going to lose the Soviet Union, obviously. Just interesting to think about, especially for Western Europe, because the people that were coming over to these places were probably just from Eastern Europe or, running away from communist countries. Unless you're Poland, where you started off as a communist country and you've kept up that tradition of having, well, very low migrant population. They've only added 1.5% in the last 35 years. Meanwhile, like I said, a lot of these other places have doubled. Holy crap, look at Spain. Okay, so Spain has definitely almost 10x. It's also really important to note at this time, the birth rate. The birth rate hadn't collapsed in all these countries. Things have really taken a very very, very steep decline in most of these countries that we're looking at. These statistics specifically have been in a steep decline for a lot of this stuff, all these countries that we're looking at. So the UK has more than tripled their migrant population. The US has just about doubled. A little bit different for the US because we just got a lot more population. Austria has almost tripled from 9% to 25%. Belgium from 9% to 20%. Germany's doubled. Greece is more than doubled. We talked about Iceland. Ireland has tripled. Finland was at 1%. Now they're at 10. Canada's the only country that started off in 1990 at 15%. They haven't really gained that much, at least comparatively, just because they started off so high, but this is bringing in an interesting perspective. What's interesting is this trend is not only found in Europe as well as in places like the US and Canada, but you can find this happening in Mexico and Thailand. And now, even in Japan, the country that everyone thought this would never happen in. For hundreds of years, Japan was notorious for being closed off to foreigners. Just really wanted to say that there's more places involved in this than just these flags that were included in this post, that's for sure. And there's soon to be even more countries that will probably join in. Maybe South Korea? Oh, I forgot some of the Middle East too. There's Saudi Arabia and the UAE you could also include on this list. So who's the most chronically online? Now this is not exactly showing us the biggest rate of chronically online people, but these numbers are probably the closest we can get to that because if you're chronically online, you're probably using your mobile device a lot. I'm actually in the rare minority of people. I just realized like I'm still using my desktop. I don't even use my laptop that often. To truly be chronically online, you need to be chronically online all the time. And what other device better than your cellular device? Did I say that weird cellular device? Completely unsurprisingly to me, Russia is one of the most chronically online countries. The Russians are all over the internet. They're spending about 4 hours per day on their mobile device. Dang, how much do I spend? For reference, I think I'm at like 2 or 3 hours, but I'm also I'm chronically online. Okay. Turkey is right on their tails though. Turkey at just under 3 minutes, but they're both over 4 hours as a whole. That's insane. What's also interesting about this is that Russia and Turkey share the biggest population in the European continent. If you want to include Turkey as European, I mean, they have definitely land in Europe, that's for sure. There's definitely going to be a lot of jokes made about, well, the countries that are working a lot are not as chronically online. Germany, yeah. Of course, Portugal is always Balkans. Portugal matching up more with this region of their continent rather than the western side. I really wish we had more information about some of these countries that are not included. What the hell? Yeah, I feel like I use my device for like 3 hours per day. To be realistic, I'm probably a Pole on the inside. I want to be a Pole.
Hello, Pole.
Nice job, Denmark. I'm a little bit surprised. I thought if there was going to be any country that was like the least chronically online, it'd be like a Mediterranean nation. I mean, why are you on your phone? You got beautiful beaches to enjoy. Third place nation is Bulgaria. Now, I want to say this is just Europe. However, I know that if we expand it to like a worldwide perspective, this would be insane. It's probably no European nation. Actually, it's probably the Philippines if I'm being honest. This is a slightly different graph, but this is showing just average screen time. I don't think it's exclusively mobile devices. But yeah, Southeast Asia absolutely rules these categories. Thailand at almost 50%. The Philippines, yeah, at 54%. But apparently South Africa and Brazil are beating out the Philippines. Then there's Argentina and Colombia. So yeah, we were just focused on Europe. But yeah, like I said, outside of that continent, I mean, there's countries that are dominating and it's way worse. And this is another factor to keep in mind, probably lower than it actually is. When I'm in Germany, I see literally everyone with their faces glued to their screen time all the time. Okay, that's super anecdotal. This sounds like probably a boomer, like, you're always on your damn phone. But it is possible. I mean, if they're willing to admit these numbers, I bet you in reality it's actually worse. And if you're wondering why the numbers might seem low, if you're hitting like 8 hours of screen time per day, consider average and median. It's probably getting dragged down by a lot of the boomers. Yeah, my screen time is 15 hours. The older I get, it's just getting harder and harder to be chronically online. Like, it literally feels unhealthy now. I've been doing it for like 15 years. I can't do this anymore. I need to touch grass. Here's the plan to divide up my home state of California. Now, is this the first proposal? Certainly not, and it will definitely not be the last. One interesting thing about this one, though, is that it is proposing just 2 different Californias. I've seen 3. I've even seen like a 5-state solution. Weird pun there, but yeah. You know what? Actually, I'm thinking of this one. It's a 6 Californias, a 6-state solution, but I would not be surprised at all if there's, you know, a 5-state solution also out there. I gotta stop saying the 5-state solution thing. Then there was this idea back in 2018. This is the 3 Californias. This 2 California idea is coming out of, well, after the possibility of redistricting, Governor Newsom's plan to well, basically do the same thing that Texas did. It's all just a political game. They're trying to increase Democratic control versus, Texas, who's trying to increase Republican control. These 2 states of California is mostly keeping the yellow counties here. They're going to be very Republican, and then blue is going to be very Democrat. I don't really like this idea at all, but I am 100% down to dividing up California. We're too big. I'm down to divide us in 2 ways, but it would literally just be a direct horizontal line down the middle. I just think there's so much cultural difference between Northern California and Southern California. Like, it just feels weird. We shouldn't be together. The state's too damn big. It has nothing to do with politics. I just think we should split up. As someone who's been fascinated by the different micro communities in my own state, I mean, it's a world different from NorCal to Southern California. I don't even like North California that much. It's weird. The only place worse than LA is the Bay Area. Houses are way too expensive. Now, of course, this is never in a million years ever gonna pass. They're definitely not going to divide up California. But I always love to weigh in on this topic just because I feel very passionate about this. It's a fun idea. This, though, hell no. I do not want this. I mean, it literally goes against everything I was just saying. Like, I just don't think that Southern California should be in the same state as, culturally speaking, just completely 2 different worlds. What if the entire stock market was just a bunch of puzzle pieces? Who makes up all those pieces? Unsurprisingly, it is the USA, and it's not even close. I think there's just a lot more of a tradition and an understanding here in the US versus in other countries, specifically China is what I'm talking about. Everything I've learned about the Chinese economy, the vast majority of their population, they all invest their money into real estate. And that's actually been kind of a problem for them as of recently, especially with their own declining birth rates. But consider this. Okay, so China is responsible for 11 trillion of the global stock market. But now compare that to this whole pie chart of the overall world economy. China should be, you would think, a lot closer to, well, the USA in stocks. They just aren't. It's a different thing culturally. China will, of course, with time, probably definitely gain value in the markets. That's inevitable. This is part of the reason why so many people and even like foreign companies will invest their own money in just the US's market. You're just going to get a way better return. The US holds nearly half of the world's market value, over 5x bigger than China's share. Now, does that really mean anything? Not really. I mean, it does help us one up China, I guess, a little bit, but with time, of course, the international markets and the world market will probably begin to outperform the USA. I don't know. It's not financial advice, but that's what a lot of famous economists are predicting. Now, I don't know if that's going to be in 50 years or 100 years or 25 years. Look at how huge the UK is, though. This is a singular country. They are almost half of what the EU has in the stock market. Canada, too. I mean, Canada's only at like 42 million population, yet, I mean, they're looking like a sizable part of the EU, too. India, the country with the most people on Earth. Yeah, again, this is why, with time, more than likely, you can assume that India and China are going to have a bigger share here in the future. Hong Kong alone, though, makes up 4.5 trillion. I think they divided up between these 2. That's why it's a little bit complicated. There's Japan, there's Australia, and then all these pieces down here, other emerging markets, also other developed markets, whatever that means. Damn, look at little old Singapore, the city-state of Singapore at 0.6 trillion? Yeah, this is crazy. For me, it is mind-boggling how Argentinian stocks are worth just like 0.04 trillion. Yeah, so Hong Kong has its own regulation outside of Chinese state rules, which is why it's a pretty big force on that post. But do keep in mind, yes, Nvidia alone is 4.42 trillion. That's crazy. The US, king of the bubble. Great for them. Big thanks to my patrons this month. If you want your name here, check that Patreon link in the description down below. Never change Drew unless you want to. We need a Drew bobblehead figurine. Petition for Drew Alexander to make the Terrible, ASMR Connor Tingles Pavlik, version 2.
Frederick Tiblin,
King Bear Hayes,
Lord Track,
Luxembourg Lover,
Miglu the Goat,
Nolan, Nord Tyrol,
Tambrin,
and William.